In my entire career as a dog trainer and behaviorist, my biggest challenge has never been rehabilitating a dog. The biggest challenge is actually dealing with the client or the owner of the dog and helping them understand how important the dynamics of their relationship is with their dog and why it's critical to have the right relationship with them in order to maintain that rehabilitated state. What's so difficult for a lot of us to understand, in particular Western cultures, is that dogs are a different species than we are. I mean, we all know that, and yet we don't really treat the dogs that way. But in essence, for example, I'm a woman, I'm a human, and I want to be related to as such. I don't want to be related to as a different species other than what I am. That's who I want to be. Dogs are the same way. So even though when they're domesticated and they come into our world, their behavior has to be modified somewhat in order for them to live peaceably in our society and in our human homes. But some things remain the same. Their DNA, for example, is still very much the DNA of a wolf. They can have offspring with wolves, and so that tells you right there how so much of who they are is still connected to their ancestral lines. So wolves, of course, run in packs. Dogs are also pack animals, even though now their pack might consist of 2 or 3 people, a couple of kids, and a cat or another dog. They're still pack animals, and they want to be related to as such. So when we don't treat them that way, when we inadvertently put them in a position of authority by giving them excessive amounts of affection, giving them very few boundaries, very few limitations, where basically they're allowed on every piece of furniture, they're allowed to follow us even into the most intimate spaces of our homes and the different rooms, they're connected to us constantly, they really don't have an opportunity to be related to the way they would like to be. And that's the demise of 99% of every client dog that I take in. There's some sort of a relationship issue with the owners that has created this situation. So when you think about it, if you really, really want to love your dog and love it properly, you need to fulfill the dog based on what actually fulfills that dog, as a species of animal that's very different than what we are. It's true, and even in human relationships, a married couple, a mother and a child, the dynamics of that relationship has to be more about just what's good for me and what I want. It has to be also about the other person. So in many instances, what I tell owners is really, now that you have this dog and this dog has this issue, it can't be about you anymore and what you want. If the owner insists on having the dog sleeping with them and this dog has a history of biting the owners and other people, then it's not a very smart move to have your dog sleep in bed with you. So what that owner needs to understand is now it's time to put your dog first in terms of what your dog needs as opposed to what you want. So that's my tip for what it's worth for today. Have a happy Friday.